afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Alongside myself, Harry Benjamin, this week is, as always, former Grand Prix rider and British champion Keith Hewin. And it's British Grand Prix week, Keith. What are you excited for? Is it my return to the podcast?
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, but you've already had a bit of time at Silverstone with the Formula One, of course, up there, which has been your main job of recent weeks. Congratulations, all been going very well for you. A lot of people wondering where you are, despite the fact you are predominantly a car man, of course. You have now got a fan base of two-wheel people. Fantastic.
I'm honoured. I am honoured, and I do see the messages, and I haven't the wheels keep turning on this podcast, and it's I'm working on it in the background. I haven't gone away, but we have a fantastic team that are able to keep things going on air. But yes, I have had to focus a little bit on the four wheels, but it's summer break now on four wheels, and two wheels just start, so this is quite a nice time to have the crossover.
Well, we've had the chat with Stuart Pringle, of course. I put his toes to the fire a bit the other day. Formula One at Silverstone is obviously the number one game. And what I took out of that conversation with Stuart was a little bit of exasperation, really. I mean, he's very polite. He's very eloquent. He's a proper head of committee, isn't he, when it comes to running a great circuit like Silverstone is. But I can't get away from the fact that it is a Formula One track. That is their main focus. MotoGP is not, even though they make a fair amount of effort to it. I think he's slightly exasperated in the way that perhaps PR-wise it's not where it needs to be. But we've got a fantastic event coming up this weekend. I mean, if you look at the facts and the figures and the people that are going to be there, anywhere else in the world, you would break a leg to be on the plot. You would want to be right there with it. I mean, great bands on every night. It's the place to be seen, but somehow it just doesn't pick up that kind of momentum from a fan's point of view. And we'll wait and see what the figures are again at the end of this year. But I mean, at the end of the day, Silverstone are going to have to start making some money out of it. Otherwise, we're not going to have a Silverstone Grand Prix. It will definitely be, on the move, you would think. 75th anniversary. It's round 10. It's the 75th anniversary of MotoGP, of course, since 1949, the TT, when it all started off. They're all going back with retro liveries. I've seen some of the photographs of them. They are it's going to be spectacular. Weather forecast is looking good as well. Day of Champions kicks off. Today, the day we're recording this, is Day of Champions. I spoke to Andrea Coleman last night, who is the founder of Two Wheels for Life, who run that. They're looking forward to another massive day today. But the big one for me, because of my personal connection, of course, is it's Mike Trimby is being inducted into the MotoGP Legends. He will be the only non-MotoGP legend, if you like, riding-wise, that will be inducted into it because of his absolutely incredible work, lives he's saved in MotoGP. He will be a legend. Irene, his wife, is coming over from the Isle of Man. Of course, anybody don't know what I'm on about. We lost Mike at Misano a couple of Misanos ago. He died suddenly at dinner that night. With his right-hand people all around him. And he's been recognised by Dorna and the entire MotoGP fraternity. And so Mike will be entered into the Legends group. Last one was Danny Pedrosa. I think I wrote it down somewhere. How many of them are there? I wrote down 39 so far. He'll be the 39th. So,
okay.
Illustrious company for Mike Trimby.
It absolutely will be, and it wasn't too long ago that we did an episode dedicated to Mike with Steve Parrish, which you can go back through the OMG archives and take a look at on YouTube and audio as well. It's a really nice episode with Steve sharing his memories, of course, with Mike, and of course racing with the likes of Barry Sheen. But it was a really nice chat as well. And indeed, if you want to go and watch back the Stuart Pringle Silverstone episode, that's only just gone out a couple of days ago. So that was a really insightful episode. And I suppose good timing, because it's a big weekend for the British Grand Prix. It's a big weekend for MotoGP, back in action after the summer break. I thought you were harsh but fair with your questioning to Stuart, and I think he handled it fairly well. And I think ultimately it does just there's a few factors that personally I think it comes down to. Silverstone is vast. You can't fill that place up with bike fans. Unfortunately, you just can't, which is why a Donington, etc., could be more beneficial. But also the day and age we're in, it's just it is money. It's too expensive. But I think that goes across the board for both the Formula One side as well. It's too expensive. But then again, motorsport is an expensive hobby.
For me, I felt that there's not enough done in the way of PR. I mean, I felt that Stuart is very eloquent. I really like Stuart Pringle. I think that he's the right man for the job. He's done a great job at Silverstone. Silverstone, as far as Formula One is concerned, has made money. I mean, Silverstone was a loss-making enterprise for a long time for the BRDC. They had to sell off fields everywhere to just keep going. It looked like, there's no government or local authority pots of cash that gets given to them like there are at so many other circuits around the world that Silverstone competes with. So they're to be commended when it comes to that kind of thing. But I think they lose the plot slightly when it comes to PR. I think that, we had a Monster Energy sponsored thing the other week with all of, loads of top riders and the like that were out there on road bikes and doing a real thing. TNT, BT Sport, as was, we're all there. And there'll be this big thing that will be on TNT this weekend where, Susie Perry will be bounding around with all the wonderful riders and all this and the other. But what bloody good's that? It's on TV at the weekend. It hasn't promoted the event. It hasn't done anything. And my information has that nobody much from Silverstone bothered to come down to pit lane and join in on it anyway. So I think there's real missed opportunities here. It's almost like there's a bit of fresh thinking needs to be done regarding the PR. I mean, I said about getting motorbikes running around the roundabouts at Milton Keynes. It's not about the fans we already have. It's about reaching out to the ones that we don't have, that know nothing about MotoGP, that aren't interested in the personalities. Look at, again, I hate this. I'm having to really look at Formula One and say, Lando Norris, George Russell, obviously Lewis Hamilton, of course. We've got people capable of winning, the top, and they do. The top. I mean, Lewis Hamilton, have you ever heard him cry on air? I hadn't until that one.
Well,
it's spectacular, and it even turns me on to Formula One more than I am already. I'm a motorsports fan right through, but you go, I've got to watch this. And I think with MotoGP, we've got the best spectacle there is, bar none, on track. I don't care what anybody says. You do not get a better spectacle than 24 motorbikes at it within a second of each other during qualifying and the like. So therefore, I'm exasperated as to why that message hasn't risen.
I agree with you, but that's not, in my opinion, Silverstone's fault, or indeed that's not on them in a way. That this gets to what Stuart was bringing up, and I don't want to rehash everything. You can go back and listen to it, that episode, but I do think it comes down to Dorna, and perhaps when Liberty Media, if and when they're able to take control, this could be really exciting. We need a ride to survive. We need a demonstration through London of MotoGP bikes with Marc Marquez there. We need a demonstration up north going through Manchester or whatever, just to showcase that this is motorbike racing. These are the personalities. Come and watch.
I think you're absolutely spot on right. And Dorna are also, we've leveled it at them before. Dorna are poor when it comes to that kind of promotion. They have not been, and this is where Liberty Media, with luck, will be able to pick up the pieces as far as that's concerned, and will invest in it. I mean, it needs investment. The problem we've got, I suppose, Harry, is that Liberty Media, this deal hasn't been done in the last 6 months. This deal has been going on. So you've probably had Dorna that have had half their office working away trying to put this deal together, and haven't really been pushing the sport forward in the last couple of years in the way that it should be, because this deal has been on the table. I dare say there's been so much going on behind the scenes that we don't know about that maybe have limited the fact that we've not been promoting in the way we have. Look, at the end of the day, Silverstone, I think what I'd like to do is end up on a real positive. We've got the 75th anniversary of MotoGP this weekend. If you've not already bought a ticket, I was speaking to Stuart Higgs actually the other day, MSVR series and race director, for all the other tracks in the UK. And he said their walk-ups are massive now. He said the advanced booking is down a bit, for BSB this is. Advanced bookings are down a little bit. If the weather forecast is quite good, longer range, then they'll pick up on advanced bookings. He said, but they've really noticed that their last-minute walk-ups are really, really volatile. He said they'll suddenly absolutely have an influx on the day, whereas you get the feeling sometimes that Silverstone make it almost slightly too complicated for being able to get in on the day to drive up and find yourself let's just dump the car and go to Silverstone kind of thing. So there might be an area there that they could do slightly better as well at Silverstone.
Well, you know what? I'm going on Sunday, so I will report back my findings, and that will be my little bit of homework for the weekend. So I'm looking forward to going on. I'm only going on the Sunday though, but I'll if anybody's around, do say hello. Always nice to meet people. But let's talk.
You won't be able to miss him. He stands 6 inches taller than everybody else.
That is true, and I'll be wearing a baseball cap. Let's talk about some of the on track. Yeah. No, I'm not going to wear the leather jacket. I'm retiring that now. It's too hot. It's too hot for leather. On track, though, from the summer break, fight is on between Pecco Bagnaia and Jorge Martin. 10 points between them. Marc Marquez isn't that far behind. Ducati have a stranglehold. But where are you seeing the second half of this season going? Pecco, Jorge, Marc?
Pecco Bagnaia just married. His life's in order. He's fired that warning shot across the other side of the garage, even though Marquez hasn't moved into the second half of the garage yet. In as much as that, if you want to play the mental game, it's what he considers to be his strong game. I thought that was a very, very substantive thing to be saying at this point. He's saying, okay, we hear all about Marquez's brain games. I'm pretty good at them. So, Pecco's already prepping himself for that. 10 points, as you say. There's 407 still on the table, though. That's a substantial amount of points. So anything can happen still from this point. So it's no way Pecco Bagnaia is yet. But my point is he's settled. His marriage is out the way. Probably shouldn't say that. It's not the kind of thing you get out the way. But anyway, it is quite a lot of planning and quite a lot of thought. So I think Bagnaia is in a very good position indeed. But where we're going to be seeing now is whether the Aprilia can keep that momentum going. There's been a lot of interest as far as Trackhouse is concerned. Hang on a minute, I've just got to do this very slightly if I may. I didn't think you'd appreciate that cough, so I've just pressed the old cough button. I got a feeling that Silverstone is a bit of an Aprilia type of racetrack to start their second half in a good way. I mean, Aleix Espargaro, obviously he's in a good, could be in a good place. Maverick Vinales maybe. I've got a bit of an Acosta comeback coming my way, I think.
Yes, well, still highest rookie, the only rookie, and outclassing his teammate as well. That's a pretty rough hit for Augusto Fernandez to have to deal with.
Yeah, I think that, but it's all about don't get injured. You can't think like that because it slows you down. But it's he who doesn't get injured with some of these long hauls. This is going to be the tough part of the season, I think, now. With some of these back-to-back, where we're going, the weather involved, it starts to really play. The experienced guys that have got their heads in order are going to be benefiting from that, I think, benefiting from the fact that they are organised for this kind of long-haul stuff.
Yeah, well, it's going to be an exciting second half of the season. Just a couple of other things to see off that we haven't, I think, spoken about on the pod yet. Just outside of British Grand Prix bits and bobs, Indian Grand Prix going to return to the calendar from 2025 to 2027. Happy with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to be on the Indian continent. How the hell can we have a global MotoGP series without being in India? It's a massive, massive marketplace. So, the trouble is with India is that authoritarian-wise, it's quite a difficult racetrack and authority regime to get around, to ship that kind of gear in and ship that kind of gear out. They have strange rules about importing and then exporting the kit. I think Formula One suffered from that at one point as well. So providing that's all sorted and the teams have free access to their kit and free to get it back out of the country again afterwards, then it will be that will be brilliant from that point of view. But we've got to have an Indian Grand Prix effectively. There's massive interest. The Indians are marching all over the world at the moment. It's not, we talk about the Chinese, talk about the Russians, rah 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 rah. But the Indians, everywhere you go nowadays, Southeast Asia, holiday destinations, there's Indians at every single place you go to. Families and families of them. They're traveling. They're taking up, social opportunities everywhere. So India's on the march, and the Grand Prix at Put International will be, I think, pretty much well received.
Yeah, big two-wheel community as well, developing out there too. So absolutely good to see that on there. And our friend of the show, Simon Crafar's got a new job for is it next year he's got this new job?
It is. it's funny because Mike Trimby again. Mike Trimby was in his office one day scratching his head. Mike Trimby was the CEO of IRTA, the International Race Teams Association. For those that have not listened to us before, International Race Teams Association is the link between Dorna and the teams. Basically, Dorna contract IRTA to contract the teams, and it's a collaboration. The FIM are basically a licensing bunch. They're the overarching control body for the world, but it's IRTA and Dorna who basically run the show. Mike Trimby was the main man. I'm forgetting where we're going with that now.
Simon Crafar.
Crafar sat in Trimby's office, and Mike said, "Can't get anybody to do the steward's job. Got any thoughts?" And I said, "Well, Freddie Spencer's not doing anything in a minute. I think Freddie was living in England at that particular point, and Freddie would take £10 an hour for a job at the moment. Bless him, one of the biggest legends there's ever been on a motorbike, and he hadn't got anything to do at that time. So they took him on as a race director, as a steward, and it went well for a minute. But then all of a sudden, there was this massive this wave against Freddie's decisions and the like. Even though he was one of three, it was a proper committee over some of the decisions made. Simon, he's only been a one-time Grand Prix winner, but the man has got his finger on the pulse, and he understands motorbikes. He understands the technology of the latest motorbikes. And so I think he will be a very positive incomer for this particular job. I think he'll be very popular as well. I mean, Simon, he's got a manner about him. When you see him on air, he seems a bit, how should we say, steady. When you meet him socially or in the paddock or somewhere like that, he ain't steady. And he's not shy. As you might have seen, again, if you look back in the OMG MotoGP archive, we've got a conversation with Simon, and some of the things he says might not have gone down that well in some areas. But he said them, and he sticks by them, and he has a reasoning that we can understand behind those comments. And I think that's the quality that will come through, is the reasoning behind a decision that never seemed to be quite so transparent with Spencer and co. I'm hoping that the regime under Simon's management will be much more transparent, and everybody, including us, including the fans at trackside, because we all have a right to know the actual reason for why this penalty has been given, so that we can understand it. And that shuts up all the naysayers and all the trolls if it's out there for everybody to understand. But of course, I always felt that it wasn't quite there all the time with the penalty. It gets put out in some directive, rule number 4.1776 or whatever it might be, and you think, the bloody hell's that? It's got no explanation that went with it. It was the bare bones of why a penalty was issued, without seeming the meat that went with it. I hope that changes under Simon.
I think a lot of the riders and people within up and down the paddock were quite pleased with that appointment as well. Just with more consistency, isn't it? At the end of the day, people want somebody who really gets it and understands the modern day trials and tribulations that go out on track. So congratulations, Simon. Perhaps we'll get him back on if we can persuade him nicely. I think that's just about it. Have you got any, unless there's anything more that you want to
Michael Laverty,
see off?
the MLav team have picked up a one-off sponsor for the weekend. They've got Fiber Tech, three lads. One of them, a mate, apparently is no longer with us. I'm sad to say. Carl Bomber Harris. I mean, they're kind of embedded three lads who've got this Fiber Tech firm. They've come on as a headline sponsor this weekend, and Vincenti Perez takes over from the position that obviously Josh Watley once had at MLav. For those of you that are inquiring regarding what happened to Josh, no real comment on that at the moment. I think it was just a mutual parting of the ways in the end. But Vincenti Perez is a good little runner, and he's in this weekend as well. So MLav have got full capacity of two riders out there in Moto3. As regards to Silverstone, let's just quickly wrap up on Silverstone, shall we? If you are going to Silverstone and you've never been before, or if you have been before, remember, as you've just said a moment ago, Harry, it is a vast site. By that I mean bloody huge. You need either your walking shoes, you need your different. I said it's probably going to be okay weather-wise because that's what it's looking like at the moment. But you might need a bit of lightweight wet weather gear if you're going to go and there's going to be a shower or something like that. But you need walking shoes. you need to take your own bloody sandwiches and bits and pieces if the cost of the franchise is there, that, the cost of beer, the cost of this, the cost of that are quite high. There's no doubt about it, because concessions have to pay Silverstone to be on site. So therefore their prices generally have to go up to cover the concessions so they can make a profit. That's how it works. It's the way we live. So if you're a bit tight on the old sandwich front, take your own. Go as if you're going on a big camping deal. There are plenty of places to stand and walk to. One of the criticisms I think at Silverstone is that, why don't they open all the grandstands for free? Well, the trouble is you run into the bloody health and safety thing at the moment. I mean, it's funny enough, I just got a report back that today, the Day of Champions, have got like 2,500 people that have got passes to go into pit lane. And at the last minute, Silverstone have asked, for health and safety reasons, for everyone in 2,500 people to sign a waiver. Do you what? It's just, I don't quite know how that's been dealt with, and I haven't spoken to anybody yet, but it's not going to be easy, that is for sure. So somewhere in the next hour or two, there's going to be 2,500 people lined up, and they come right at the back from the paddock all the way over the bridge. Be prepared if you go to Silverstone. It's a great venue. It's a massive venue. Take some kit with you. Take it as if you're going camping. Lightweight stuff. And if you're concerned about the cost of bloody food and all the rest of it, take some of your own.
Sneak your own stuff in. Sneak a sandwich in. That'll do the trick. Well, look, we hope you have a lovely time if you are going, and indeed, if you're watching on the telly, it's always a great spectacle on the TV.
And free.
And if you're by the main stage, say hello to Amy, because she's hosting that this weekend. So say hello to her.
It's worth saying, actually, it's free this weekend on ITV.
Yes, it is. Very good point. And I've actually seen some social media advertising from ITV themselves. So they didn't do that last year. So that's good to see. You don't have to pay to watch it this weekend if you're in the UK, that is. All right then, and we will be back next week to review it all. And it's a bit of a reunion because I'm going to be here with Keith Hewitt, and Pete McLaren's going to be back as well, Crash MotoGP editor. So that's going to be one to tune in for. Thank you very much for your company as always, Mr. Hewen. I think we're looking forward to this one. We'll catch up next week. But in the meantime, it's been a while since I've last done this. What do I normally say at the end? Like, subscribe, review. That's always helpful. We have a Patreon now where you can get advanced interview episodes way before anybody else and interact with a little community we're trying to build on there. We're trying to build that with Renita running it all. So do make sure you get involved in that if you can. Your support means the world. And we'll see you next week. But for now, from Keith, from me, have a good MotoGP weekend.